which is an Italian bread. Very easy to make, and it just takes a little bit of time to prove to get the yeast active. So Tegan has weighed out, how much was it? 270 grams of flour. So a strong white bread flour is what we want, but plain flour is absolutely fine because it's quite hard to get the strong white, well, any flour at the moment. Right, exactly the same with the yeast. It's quite tricky to get hold of at the moment. Jones in Beaconsfield is currently selling flour and fresh yeast, but I couldn't get any active dry yeast from the supermarket. So what I'm going to do is, this is warm water. I've got 200, let me just double check. No, I haven't, there's a lot more than that there, so I'm going to pour some of that out. So we've got some fresh yeast, because I got this from Jones. There isn't any dried yeast at the moment that we could find. So you times the amount. If you're supposed to be using active dried yeast, it's 3 times for fresh yeast. So I'm going to be putting in 21 grams of fresh yeast into my warm water. Okay. Right, and then I'm going to give that a stir. Finn is going to use his measuring spoons to put half a teaspoon of salt into the flour, which we're going to mix around. Now remember to tap it on the side, make sure you've got a level, tap it on the side, Finny, so it's not too much. Is it level? Yeah. That looks like a bit less, doesn't it? So maybe scoop it again, tap it out, good boy, and then pop it in. Right, so we've got our yeast in there, which we're just going to dissolve. Finn, do you want to get a spoon, just a big spoon, just to stir in that flour? Yep, just give it a stir. Okay, so we don't want all the salt to be in one place. Yeast doesn't like salt. It kills it because obviously yeast is living. So all we're going to do is we're going to add a tablespoon. Always remember to hold your spoon measurements over your bowl. So tablespoon of olive oil is going in there. I'm going to make a well in the centre, and I'm going to stir in my yeast, bringing all the flour together. Remember to hold onto your bowl, okay? And we're going to bring that together. Now with focaccia, to keep it nice and soft, it does have a lot, well, instead of kneading it with flour, I'm going to be kneading it with olive oil. So what you do is I tend to keep it in the bowl. Now before I move on, I just want to say that this is half of the recipe I would normally use, because I normally double it to make quite a big batch, but it's totally up to you. So if you're a family of 4 and you don't want to make a huge amount of it, then the recipe that I'm going to put on the video is the correct recipe to use. You can easily double it if you want to, and you can use this recipe for pizza as well, for pizza dough. Right, so I'm going to use, I've well oiled my hands, and I'm going to use my hands to knead the dough. So I'm going to start off in the bowl, and I'm just sort of bringing it over itself and using my knuckles to just press it down. Okay, and what we're trying to do with all bread is, once you've added water to flour, it activates the gluten, which is the stretchy part. It makes it really stretchy, and it starts becoming a bit like chewing gum. It gets really stretchy, and the gluten, we want it to get as stretchy as possible, because what happens is when the yeast starts working and producing carbon dioxide, it will then start inflating the gluten, putting air into it, or gases into it, and the structure will be created by the gluten that will stretch that lovely elasticity to create a lovely dough. We're putting a bit of flour on the surface, but I'm going to give some oil to Tegan and Finn, and they're going to start kneading. Now, if there are various different ways of kneading, what I tend to do is I just bring the heel of my hand in and pull back. So it's kind of like a cat kneading. It's that kind of action. So you're bringing it in and you're pushing it, and you're bringing it in and you're pushing it. And by doing that, and you're rotating it as you do that, by doing that, you're stretching and really working the gluten. Okay, Tegan, so I'm going to give you a little bit of oil on your hands first. We're going to put that there as well to stop it sticking too much. So hands over the bowl always, because we don't want to make a massive rub. Rub them together, your hands. Okay, and then you're going to use the heel of your hand. We're pushing, pulling, like that, okay? And the whole point of this is that you're kind of like rotating it and stretching it a bit like chewing gum. Off you go. Finny, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, pop your hands over the bowl. Okay, rub them together. Good boy. Okay, so do you remember how we did it? We did it before, but you remember you're pushing the heel, like Tiggy, that's it, heel, and then you're bringing it back. That's it. So, let me just show you one more time. So, heel down, pull it back. Heel down, pull it back. So, you're stretching it. Finny, heel. Where's the heel of your hand? That's it, good boy. You're pushing your heel there and pulling it back. Heel, pulling it back. That's it, stretch. And that's it, and you just keep going. And we want to make it nice and stretchy. And there's a test you can use to see if your gluten has reached the right consistency. Now, and that is, you take your dough and you pull it. And if it breaks like that quite easy, you can see it's not ready. You should be able to literally pull it, and almost it would stretch so much that it would almost be paper thin before it breaks. So let's keep going. We've got a good amount of kneading to do. You can of course do this on using a dough hook, on a mixer if you want to, but there we go. Right, so take the heel and that's it. Back into a ball. We'll pop it back into a bowl, a little bit of oil over it, and then we just put a towel over it like that, a tea towel, and keep it in a warm place, like I said, for about anything from 2 to 4 hours. I've got one I've done here earlier, so when Tegan and Finn have had a go at that, we're going to take this out and I'll show you the next process. Okay, so let's have a look. Well done. Okay, you can see that's starting to feel really good, isn't it? So it's starting to feel smooth, it's stretching. Okay, that's it. How's it going, Finn? That's it, good boy. Do you want me to have a go with yours? Do you want to swap for a bit?
Yeah.
See, that's it. You can feel it starting to get smoother. Okay.
Do you want to have a go?
All right, there we go. Okay, so good 5-10 minutes of work, and then that's it. When you have finished doing that, you then pop it, as I said, into the bowl. Now I'm going to take this out, and while I'm taking it out, it kind of knocks it back a bit, which means that some of the air comes out, which is fine because we're going to prove it again. You then press it out. If I was going to do double this size, I would have enough dough to press out so that it would sort of fill this tray, which means that you'd have sort of like a square loaf. But I'm just going to use this little dough like this to create, you just press your fingers in gently. So you want it about an inch in height, and then you just press in. We've got some rosemary from the garden here. Just cut yourself off some pieces. You can use thyme, you can cut some garlic skin on, you can crush some and put some whole garlic cloves in if you'd like. We're going to pop some olives in. We've been making focaccia, so we've got a couple of different photos to show you of some other focaccias we've made. You can put, just keep stretching it, Finny, that's it, good boy. We've got some lovely little rosemary flowers, which are lovely to pop in as well. Okay, and we're going to put some olives. So we're literally just going to stud it like that. Little bit of olive oil over the top, like that. Okay, you can put some rock salt on it as well if you want, and that sort of thing. But we're just going to keep it simple, cover it over, leave it in a nice warm place for another hour, and then bake it in an oven. Now, if you're doing this size recipe, it's not going to take more than probably 12, maximum 15 minutes. If you're going to double the recipe, it will take about 20-25 minutes. But lovely to have with a salad. If you've got a salad, to have a bit with a bit of balsamic and olive oil. Slice it up for sandwiches. It's lovely to have for lots of different bits. If you've got extra left over and it's stale, you can cut it into crouton sizes. Dry it off in the oven until it's nice and crunchy, and then you can keep that in a sealed bag to pop onto your salads. Good job. Okay, right, so let's crack on with that.